Welcome. My name is Melinda Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and you can find me and all of the information about all of the tutorials and everything that I do on my blog at stampingwithhart.blogspot.com. Okay, so here are the card samples that I have for you tonight. We're going to make another one on the live together. And we're going to kind of do a mix-up of colors. So these are all tone on tone. These are in colors, which we're going to be talking about. For today's cards, we're going to be using the 2021 to 2023 in colors. And I have a note saying that these are staying because they'll be here and available until 2023. These are the 5 colors that we're going to be working with for these cards tonight. So right here we have Fresh Freesia. Right here we have Pale Papaya, and then this is Evening Evergreen, and this is Soft Succulent. So we've kind of mixed in all those colors, and we're going to be doing a combination of Soft Succulent and Polished Pink in just a moment for our card that we're going to make on the live today. But the reason that I wanted to bring this up because I pulled out some coordinating product. The loose flower flourishes are also in the new in colors, and then we also have the rhinestones for the in colors, and we have the coordinating designer series paper in the in colors and the cardstock. So we're definitely, hi Debbie, how are you? We're definitely going to be using all of our in color product today, and I'm mentioning this because I was just having a conversation with a few other demonstrators about the outgoing in colors. Okay, so the 2020 to 2022 in color collection is retiring this year. Now, of course, this is just me talking from my experience as a demonstrator. I've heard of color refreshes and things like that, but I have no information on if any colors are going to be staying. As far as I know, the outgoing in colors go out, and then when the new annual catalog comes out, we get new in colors. So I wanted to mention this because if you love these colors, and if you wanted to get any product, you know, if you need to reorder anything, or you wanted to get ink pads or re-inkers or cardstock or the designer series paper, the ribbon, anything in these in colors, Cinnamon Cider, Bumblebee, Just Jade, Moonlight, Misty Moonlight, which I love this one so much, and Magenta Madness, you definitely want to do that relatively soon. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. I know it's early, but I did want to mention it. And that was kind of what put my mindset in the mode for the in color cards tonight. So again, for tonight's cards, we're going to be using the 2021 to 2023 in colors because this combination to me is very spring. So I just figured let's make it easy. We'll work with a color collection here. And if you're just getting started with Stampin' Up, a lot of people get started with in colors. So you might have this collection. Okay, so like I was saying, this is Fresh Freesia. This is Pale Papaya. And now our next card that we're going to do is going to be with the Soft Succulent. So we're going to be using first of all, what I should say is this is going to be a product mashup. This is several different products. I wouldn't normally use this many products, but I really kind of wanted to maximize using our different in colors. So I'll just say that right out of the gate. You don't have to use this many, but I did. So what I wanted to do was coordinate these gingham patterns from the Pansy Petals Designer Series paper. So you can see the gingham is in 3 different colors here, and I was like, we'll use those for our cards. I think this would be fabulous too. At least with the tulips, right? Because you don't, well, I wouldn't put pansies with tulips, but just depending on what you would like to do. So the other paper that we're going to use is, I have it right here. I tucked it away so I would remember. We're going to be using the 2021 to 2023 in color 6x6 Designer Series paper pack. And it tells you all the colors that come in the kit, right, in this set right here. You get a couple of different patterns with these. So just so I can show you the difference in the papers, let me grab a piece of this. Here we go. And then, of course, our gingham. Okay, so with our gingham paper, this is Pansy Petals. And then, oh, don't let me lose this. Don't let me lose it. And then these are from the In Color Designer Series paper. So what I did with each of these cards was the background layer is that In Color Designer Series paper, and then our little gingham pop of what I just think is like quintessential spring. These are cut with the Tasteful Labels dies, and we'll do that again. But here, what I was doing was tone on tone. But of course, we're not going to have green tulips, right? So I'm going to add some pops of pink. And you can decide what you want. You get different patterns with the In Color Designer Series paper. So this is, you know, essentially the layout that we would do for Soft Succulent. Now here is the opposite side pattern. And you could take a look here and see which one you like better. I love that. I think that looks great. Or you could mix and match with an opposite color or with the darker green, the Evening Evergreen. So this you can see is more of that plaid pattern. And then the opposite side here is almost, it's not like a fleur-de-lis, it looks more like a flower to me, but really, really cute pattern there too. So you could always do an opposing color pattern too. So let me see. For me personally, I would stick with tone on tone, but if you want to see that darker green, that Evening Evergreen with the Soft Succulent, I mean, all of the combinations are nice. And then here's that opposite side again. But I'm going to keep with my pattern to tone on tone since that's what my samples look like. Okay, so let's go back to that original piece. All right, and this is, I think, the softer side, a little bit less distracting so that our gingham can really pop there, right? But what I might do is instead of using the Soft Succulent ribbon, I might use a pop of the pink ribbon because we're going to be using the polished pink tulips. Okay, so I went ahead and pre-cut some of this stuff. I just because, you know, for the sake of time on the live. But we'll go through the pieces here. And if you're not comfortable, this is more of a die cut card. But it, you know, if you want to do the stamped tulips, you could do that too. But basically the way that I was building out the card was we would have our layout like this. I'm also using 2 sets of dies tonight, which I don't typically do. Sorry about that. But we're using Tasteful Labels, and we're also using those tulip dies. I'll give you the specific name in just a minute. So we would have this basic layout here. We would have our sentiment in the, you know, in the middle or sort of down lower, and our 2 tulips, which we're going to build from our die cut pieces. Before I start gluing this down, I am going to stamp onto the leaves here. And you know what? I think I am short. Yeah, we might have to cut one more set because I was using some on my samples here. We want to have 2 sets of leaves, right? So we'll go ahead and we'll run one more set through. I'm not going to use the very thin one. We're going to use this shorter piece right here tonight. And then we're going to use these 2 leaves, and these all have coordinating stamps. So we're going to use our Soft Succulent ink to stamp these. All right, so why don't we go ahead and I'm going to set this aside for 1 second. And let's go ahead and do just some quick die cutting. I think we're good with that now. Let's go ahead and cut a couple of our Tasteful Label dies just so I have some extras while we are on here. So this is just the basic white, the regular basic white cardstock. Okay. And some of the pieces that I had pulled, the ones that were catching my eye tonight, were the kind of the smaller pieces here. So we have 2 of the circles, we have the banner and the flag here. But if you want to cut your, your larger pieces, you could do that too. We'll just run a bunch through while we're talking about it. Okay. And the other thing that we can cut, and this is where I'm sneaking in, oh, you know what? I think I told you guys 2 sets, and I am going to use a couple more dies. I did sneak the Happy Easter dies from Word Wishes, totally optional. If you guys have this, just wanted to show this option to you. If you would rather use your stamps, you can. So here is what it looks like with the dies, and here is what it looks like with the stamps. And this is from something called A Wish for Everything. At one time, that was a bundle. So there's the first part of it. Now I'm just going to get a piece of scrap so that I can do a little bit of stamping. We're going to take those soft succulent leaves. Okay. Just going to go right over top. It's okay if it isn't perfect. We just want that little pop of color and definition there. And then let's take a look here. So if we put down the leaves, there's probably a right way to do these. There we go. All right, I'm going to put down my stem in the middle. Let's just start to let's just start to build it out and take a look at it. Okay, and then let's start to build out our tulips. So basically from the tulip dies, and they look like this, the die cut pieces that cut independently, because we also have the outline. So we have the outline of the stamped flower. So I'm just going to set those over there because that's not what we're working with tonight. But these pieces that have a lot of silver to them, they cut independent pieces. So I just ran them all through. I just put a piece of, the color down that I needed and just ran them all. And you can run that as many times as you want, but that's how I did it. And then that gave me these. Okay, so I'm just going to set some of these aside and we'll work with a couple of these. Okay. So the way that I did this was we have kind of 2 different, one is more of like a bud and one is more of the open tulip flower. So we're going to use both, and this is going to be the 2 outlines that we use. And so as you start to fold, you can see that there's like a score line there. As you start to fold these in, looks like I got a little glue on this one. We can start taking a look at these other pieces. Now this technically is an outline for a stamp, but it would fit in there just fine. Okay, so we're going to start to build these. So here's some of our pieces. So for this one, this is what the outside looks like. And then for the inside, we're going to go to the 2, what should I call that? 2 petal. And then we have like that 1 petal. And so that's just kind of how I did it, 1, 2, 3. You could build your tulips out, whatever you think looks prettiest. And like I said, I'm not really a flower expert, but that's kind of how I'm doing it. So what I'm going to do is just kind of close this up and tuck that in. And then we'll get a little more on the back of here. use whatever adhesive you like. I'm just going to tuck that right back here. Okay. Now for this one, I'm going to put some adhesive right on the side and fold that piece in first. And then for this smaller piece, I'm going to get a glue dot because I found that because it was a smaller piece, it was like a little bit stubborn with my adhesive. So these I have found work well with this particular piece. And then we're going to pop that down. Okay. And so we have our tulip. All right. So there's one. And then let's go ahead and build out the other one. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold that in. We're going to fold this in. But my understanding is it goes this way. So it's kind of like the closed tulip here. And we're just going to use one of these single petals on the inside in the polished pink, just to kind of get that little extra bit there. Okay, so let me put that single petal on the inside here. And then I'm going to put adhesive on this larger petal that folds to the side. I'm going to put that one in first. And if you want to put your baby petal in first and then the big one, I totally get that. I kind of like the baby on the outside. I just thought it looked pretty that way. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to use a glue dot. Stampin' Seal Plus is pretty strong, but it's tough to get such a narrow piece with the Seal Plus on it, with the runner. Okay. All right, and so there is the closed bud here. All right, so now we're just going to start to build this up and glue these down. So let's start with this one. I'm going to put this up on dimensionals. And so let's talk about our middle piece that would either have our die cut sentiment or the stamp sentiment, just depending on which one you prefer. So for a card like this that is in the landscape position versus like the portrait, right? Or vertical versus horizontal, just depending on how you guys say it. I kind of like the bigger, splashier sentiment, right? Because we have more space to work with here than we do like on this one. So if you want to do the singular tulip, you have that. But here, I really feel like we have some space to play. Now with this one, okay, so this is the shape that I used for the gingham pieces here, right, to frame our tulips. So if you'd want to do a third piece here, you could do that. I really didn't want to take away from the tulips, right? So I liked this size. That was just kind of like where my happy place was. And then of course you could decide if you want it lower down, you could do like a bow right in the center if you'd want to. But I really just loved the idea of that, like being right in the center. Now you guys know I'm a big fan of the adhesive sheets and turning, you know, really intricate dies into stickers. It's just easier to use. But for this particular card, I did not do that. So I'm going to use my go-to fine tip glue pen here. All right, and then this piece will go up on dimensionals too. So as you can see, the words come off of the circle, and it's totally fine because it overlaps, you know, onto our tulips. So I'm going to concentrate the adhesive on the APP and the Easter, like the AST part here. So I'm just going to set this right down. Okay. Isn't that fabulous? All right, so let's talk about embellishments. You could either add some more ribbon if you would like, but like I said, we have lots of coordinating options here. So we have these gorgeous rhinestones, okay, and here are all of the polished pink ones here. So we could pop some rhinestones on here. I also wanted to show you or remind you about the brushed brass butterflies, which come with the tulip suite. So just depending on which bundle you bought with the tulips, or if you have them all, those are gorgeous. But for spring, don't you just love the bumblebee trinkets? Is that like just the cutest thing? Okay, so if you want that pop of gold there, flowers, I mean, that just makes me happy. So have the loose flower flourishes, okay? So these also coordinate, and if you just kind of wanted to have some more pops of flowers here, whether or not you wanted to do big ones or little baby ones here, right? Aren't they cute? So if you guys are still here live and you want to vote on which embellishment I should use, let me know. I think what I'm going to do is go between the loose flower flourishes or the rhinestones. So let me put the rhinestones down just one more time because I know that there's a delay on Facebook. I always gravitate towards these. Okay, that's kind of like my default. But what I did was I used the rhinestones, the pale papaya rhinestones on this one, and I used the loose flower flourishes on this one. So we kind of have one of each. Flower flourish, Marion says. Both would be beautiful. Yes, flower flourish. Okay, so let's go ahead with flower flourish. And with those, we're going to add some adhesive. So I'm going to go to my trusty glue dots for this. We have these dies that occasionally cut into our cardstock, okay? And that means that if the paper is longer than the die, it stays there unless you trim it out. So this is what that looks like. This is what that tulip border looks like. And I was coloring these with the Stampin' blends. Look at how pretty that is. So I'm gonna have to figure out, you know, to make some projects with this. So if you would wanna do something like this, you know, on a card or add that other layer, you could do that. Here's what it would look like for this version, or you could just do a separate card with a different scene or a different layer, right? But no matter how you choose to use them, they are so beautiful. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, stay tuned to the next video. Bye bye.